People, I'm gonna share this as part 2, right? So right, gonna see if this brings up any. I'll share this from my other page. Right, part 2. Issues. All right. Okay, I'm just sharing this again. Sorry about that, folks. Is Bitcoin halal? Let's. Right, I'm just. See, this is why I'm thinking I've had enough now. You know, I think I'm seriously gonna. I did actually call into Virgin yesterday to cancel, and they bumped up what they were giving me, doubled it, and they said they were going to send out an engineer today. So he did come out, and he said, look, there's nothing wrong with your personal kind of stuff at home. What it is the network in the area, the kind of box or cabinet or whatever they call it is messed up, and they're going to have that repaired in April next year. So I've had enough now. So what I'll do is I am going to be contacting Sky to see what their better deal is. But afwan. So ahlan wa sahlan, bienvenidos, people. Huan Ying Layth. There's the signs right there, people, the right sign. Which one annoys people more? I just love kind of really winding people up. I tell you what, let's take some questions, people. Let's take some questions. Naam. What is it that keeps you up? Let's get some of these questions. Mufti Saab, in Baqarah 34 and Araf 11, Allah commands the angels to prostrate to Adam after creating Adam, but in Hijr and Sa'ad commands the angels to prostrate to Adam before creating Adam. What does that mean? I'm not sure what verse exactly you're referring to. Right, so I'm not quite sure. Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Awwal is in the house, people, in the house. That's Sheikh Awwal right there from London. Those of you that want to connect, inshallah, reach out to him. Right, people, ahlan wa sahlan. So I'm going to have to ask you now that this is part 2. Part 2. Uno, dos, people, dos. I'm going to need you to click like, click share, get it out there, right? And let's spread the knowledge as fitan and fasad are spread. Let's spread it like that. So I'm not sure this question that's being asked about Allah's asking the angels to prostrate before Adam is created. I'm not sure what verse you're specifically referring to there. I'll have to check. If you can provide a reference, I will check. Oh, you've given some reference. I'll check that, inshallah. But in essence, my understanding is it true that the hadith says women cover everything but hands and face is weak? Okay, I'll come to that. Yes, that is true, that hadith is not categorically free of criticism, because it's been criticized and weakened and by certain scholars, and some have accepted it, but others have weakened it. So, but this point here of Adam alayhi salam, we do have to understand that Adam alayhi salam was obviously an insan. He was the first of humankind as we are to know them, but he was preceded by many other hominins. Okay, most likely other homo kind of Homo sapiens too, most likely. But my understanding, Allahu A'lam, is Adam alayhi salam would have been the father of the human cognitive revolution that we had. And that is what manifests itself in the verse of the Quran when Allah says, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَاكُمْ, and indeed we have created you. And consider that the companions, the live feed is repeating itself. Right, I'm not sure it is, Missy, but I hope it isn't. Right, so yeah, as I was saying, Allah says, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَاكُمْ, indeed we have created you, ثُمَّ صَوَّرْنَاكُمْ, then we gave you formation, ثُمَّ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ, then we said to the angels, this is Adam. Okay, so the point is that we as a human, if you want to say, I mean, as a species, I suppose we are Homo sapien, but as the hominin kind of genus, if you like, that we as humans being Homo, not that Homo, nate, but humans being Homo, as in that sense, the genus Homo. So Allah created us, and then He gave us formation with gaps, and then Adam comes on the scene. So I hope that's of some help. Right, Mohammedu, shukran, Iram, alaykum assalam. Yunus, likewise, ahlan wa sahlan. Those of you tuning in, click like, click share, get this live feed out there, people. This is part 2. So unfortunately, the people that were tuned in, we have lost them. Chalo, chalta hai. It happens, I guess. It happens. Where does the ruling about following the laws of the land come from? Regardless of any contradiction, example would be in regions of China. Okay, Ahbad, I'm not quite sure what you mean by, you see, because the rules of following the laws of the land. Okay, well, this comes from the Sharia. The Sharia is an amalgamation. It's a kind of, it's an amalgamation of the Quran, the Sunnah, the interpretations built on it, things like this, the general spirit. Everything is then documented, added with fatwa, things like this. So when you say, because when you're saying the law of the land, what you are in essence saying, there's many things. In essence, you are saying that do I have the right to create open rebellion? That is what you're saying. Now the question is, no, generally in Islam you don't. Now when you're saying that, but why must I follow the law of the land if it contradicts with Islam? Where does it contradict? In most parts of the world, Islam will never be in contradiction or in clash with the law of the state. Hardly ever happens. I mean, I'm not sure where that is happening. Maybe on tiny issues where there's equally other rulings available in Islam. Now, if there's a human rights issue that you're saying in China, they, for example, refuse to allow people to pray or allow people to fast. I'm not so sure that is true about China in its entirety. I don't believe it is true. I could be wrong, but I believe that that was in reference to a particular region within China where those people, I think they've got a lot of history of wanting a separate state. And then China is reacting to them. I don't believe that the general Muslims in, like, let's say Beijing or in other Shanghai or in other places are facing those kind of, that China has a blanket policy that nobody can pray. That's not my understanding. My understanding is it's a particular state. I think, is it the Uyghur and these kind of people who have a history of rebellion against the state, and they want a separate state, and therefore they are facing the kind of wrath of the state against them. So that's my understanding. So look, if you're asking, can you migrate? Yes, you can migrate. If you're in a place and let's just say hypothetically, you're in a place and they don't let you pray. I find that absurd, but let's say that is the case. Then there's other ways you can make up for it. You can make prayers in different ways. And if you can't do something, you can't do it. Fine, don't do it. I'm just saying, if you can do it, do it. It's quite simple as that. Many of the ulama in the past, when Andalus collapsed, Muslim Spain collapsed, right? When Muslim Spain collapsed, opinion was divided on what the Muslims who are living under Spanish rule should do. So in 1492, Granada was the last kind of bastion of Islamic civilization in Spain. That collapsed to King Ferdinand and Isabella. Now the thing was, after that, I mean, immediately there wasn't. I mean, I think for about a decade it was okay. Then after that, the Spanish Inquisition kind of began, and then obviously it picked up momentum. Muslims continued to live there for over a century and a half after that, at least. Now, there was mixed opinion, divided opinion on what Muslims ought to do. Some people were saying that Muslims are under obligation to migrate. Other Muslims felt it was not, like if you wanted to, you can, and if you don't want to, you can. And some of the Malikiya, their fatwa are preserved. You can read their fatwa where they said that, look, by any means, like if they said that, look, if they prevent you from praying salah, just pray through indication, by looking. Just pray like that. And they said if they prevent you from doing wudu, do tayammum. They said if they prevent you from doing tayammum, you can do it by ishara, just looking at the wall or the sand and just look at your hands and that's it. They said if they prevent you from doing ghusl, go for a swim. They said if they prevent you from that, don't do it, do tayammum. If there's no means of, if they ask you to, they said if you must eat ham, eat ham. This is the choice, this is the fatwa of some of the ulama of the Maliki madhab who said if you want to live there, this is what you do. They said that alternatively you can migrate. But what I'm trying to say is opinion was divided on the obligation of migrating. Some people felt that it's an obligation, you must migrate. Others felt that it was not an obligation, but it was a choice. Was Hawa created from a rib? Eve, that for all of you wondering is Eve alayhi salam. Right, now I don't believe that she was created from a rib, no. The hadith is metaphorical. Okay, the hadith that you have where the Prophet said that, look, Hawa was created from a bent or kind of like arched rib. That he said that this is how, and he was teaching, you got to understand the metaphor. You see, some of the companions came to the Prophet and they were complaining about the kind of their women. So they were kind of, some people say, like what the hell, who does she think I've had enough of her and she better listen to me, or she better do this, or she better do that. And the Prophet was telling them that, look, the temperament of women to you will always appear different. It will appear arched. It will appear to you crooked. Like crooked meaning you cannot fathom it. It will never make sense to you. You accept it as it is, or you leave it. If you try to bend it, you will snap it. These are the words of the Prophet. He said that it is min dhil'in a'waj. It is from a kind of crooked or a bent rib to you. That if you accept it, you accepted it, وَهُوَ أَعْوَجْ, and it is curved. He said, وَإِذَا قَوَّمْتَهُ كَسَرْتَهُ. If you try to straighten it, you break it. It snaps. So the message that the Prophet was giving is that, look, men and women have different personalities. Okay, maybe not all, but maybe as a kind of stereotypical rule. Okay, we have different personalities, or not personalities, but different kind of frame, like personality. Can we say personalities, or I suppose mindsets, that we're just different. So you will never truly be able to, like the way I suppose men are from Mars and women from Venus, that kind of thing. You'll never truly be able to kind of fathom each other and click entirely. But it's okay to be like that. That's what the Prophet was trying to teach them, that look, it's okay. Don't trigger the feminists. I don't think I think the feminists are kind of confused when it comes to me. I don't think I'm definitely, I think I would trigger them off on many of the things I say. It doesn't bother me. Right, so, right, can you elaborate on a coherent understanding of what zina is? Whoa, can I elaborate? Well, it's an interesting question. Can I elaborate? Would you like Exhibit A? Right here, we will see Candidate 1A and Candidate B. They will now demonstrate for us a live demonstration of what is zina. You don't need me to coherently explain to you. I'm sure that kind of stuff is quite simple. No, I think this is a good question that has been asked by Ibrahim Williams. Right, so those of you just tuning in, people, click like, click share, get the live feed out there, people. Imam Mufti Kareeb Ar-Rahman Sahib Damat Barakatum Ahlan wa Sahlan. Right, बहुत swagat ho. People, Imam Kareeb and I studied at the same institute in Karachi, Pakistan, Jamia Benoria, and he, in our current times, resides in the United States. If you ever want to reach out to him. Now, right, so coming back to this point of, I think that's a very interesting question. Zina, is it really today what it was back then? You see, I agree with you, Ibrahim, right? Boops Core saying yes. Boops is trying to create a scandal, but I do appreciate the kind of comments. Shukran, but this is going to scandalize me. You know, it's like what's that? Main karu to sala character deala hai. You know, that's the, if I do anything, it becomes a scandal. Ab kya kare? Majboor hain babba. So, right, coming back to this point, I agree with you that today we are in a problem. Huge parts of the Islamic, not the creed side, not the faith side, but the practice, the social element side of Islam is in a huge... But I'm only joking. Relax. How is it going to become a scandal? So the thing is, look, we are in a huge kind of crisis almost, that a lot of our theory is outdated. It doesn't match what we are facing today. That comes with the bulk of Islamic rulings and teachings. Teachings could cover other aspects, like things like beliefs and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking more about the kind of social side. Things like relationships today are massively problematic. And I don't know what the solution is. But I would welcome a discussion, an open, honest, transparent discussion by ulama, where they are prepared to kind of have to reanalyze our context and come up with suitable ijtihadat. Right, so this is the understanding. Because look, in our day and age, if we're going to face it, look, marriage, it's become such a headache. It's not me. People are going to think I'm just kind of venting here. I'm not. I'm just being honest with the kind of cases that I deal with. That, you see, first of all, to get into a relationship is so hard work. Marriages cost so much. Huge costs. Such a big do. Such a big social event. People, you could either buy a house or get married nowadays. That's like the cost that you're looking at. Now, okay, almost half a house, to be fair. Now, then divorces are outcasted. Polygamy is kind of, it's kind of disowned and seen as a kind of like really looked down upon. Divorces are stigmatized. Then we've got like expectations that are kind of very idealistic of relationships. Like relationships, we're confused between a Eastern and Western, like a traditional understanding where everything was pragmatic. So it didn't matter, you just got on with life. Like, let's say the generation of our parents, it was just about just getting on with life and functioning. So they have that pragmatism. So we're confused between that and an idealism, a romanticism of which is emerging with the Instagram culture of, you know, I'm drinking coffee with Bay, or I'm having a milkshake, and every day we're at this kind of dessert place, or we're kind of you know, this kind of culture where everything is just hyper like romanticized, which isn't, I don't think it's real. I mean, I suppose as a guy, probably you never understand romance anyway. But that said, these things are not, okay, maybe for some people, for some time it works, but it's not real. You know, this kind of Instagram life is not a real life. So the problem is that issues, people getting depressed, then they don't know how to kind of cope. And then when do you get married? Like people say in our societies, people will say, oh, do you like her? Why don't you just get married? What kind of a recipe for disaster is that? So people are like, look, and then younger people, like let's say somebody 18, 19 getting married. Seriously, humanity gives, ahlan wa sahlan, people, humanity gives, charity, doing some great work in the Midlands, helping homeless people, orphans. So if you want to get involved in some charity work, reach out, connect, like, and donate, inshallah. Right, so look, so now you've got all of these issues. If somebody was like 18, 19, imagine them getting married, especially guys at that age. I mean, the immaturity is unreal. And then what? So then they're like, well, you know, so people say, no, you must get married. And other people say, no, just wait. But then we live in a hypersexualized society where everything is about kind of everything is about sex, or it's about romance, which I suppose is connected to the first thing, or it's about like, so living the life, being happy, and so what we have just doesn't work anymore. And so the question is, what is the solution? I wish I had a solution, but, and then people are like, oh, you know, they don't know what to do, and God, and you know, like I have so many people reach out. I wish I had a solution, but the ulama are refusing to engage. The scholars are refusing to recognize that as a problem. They're just saying, look, what do I mean by immaturity? Well, like, look, let's face it, an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old is not really ready to be married, because all that's going to happen, as it does happen in some of these things, so he gets married, it will, like, I don't even need to, it just leads to, for example, unwanted pregnancies. It leads to great kind of like, oh, I made this mistake, oh, you're never really right anyway, oh, and I mean, there's too many examples that I come across to kind of go through. The fights, the lack of communication, but the issue is, I'll tell you what the issue is. The issue is people are not ready for kind of full-on living in couple, mother and father relationships at young ages. Like, let's say 18, 19, even in the early... maybe sometimes if the woman is, but the man is older, that's different. But I'm talking about the men being that young. Now, but at the same time, they have a strong need for sex. So this is a huge problem from a religious perspective, because there is no solution. Islam has zero solutions to offer today. Now, in the past, and I'm not trying to say whether it's good or bad, I'm not trying to justify, I'm just saying suspend your judgment for a moment, but none of these things were an issue. I mean, so people just got on with life, divorce wasn't stigmatized, people got married where they didn't want to get married, they had concubines. So that was like, don't worry about it, why should I get married? They were like, well, I've got all of these. Now, I'm not trying to pass a judgment on saying that was, whether it's good or... What I'm trying to say is that they had solutions, though. So this fast and keep your gaze down. Get real, Jawaid Yaqub. You obviously haven't tried to say that in the face of high levels of testosterone. Fast. Fast? What the hell would I want to fast for? Look, let's face it. So these things are absurd. This is why I find them in our day and age to be highly inept and inadequate responses. Cold showers. No, you don't need cold showers, right? What you need is obviously sexual interaction. You don't need cold showers. It's like, so let's get real. Now, this is why people snap. So today, if the Muslims would, like the scholarship would, first of all acknowledge that is a problem. Ustad Umar Qureshi, ahlan wa sahlan, tasharrafna. Right, so people, Ustad Umar doing some awesome research from the States with legends like Dr. Sherman Jackson. So right there in the house, so you can reach out to him, inshallah. Right, so yeah, so I wish people would kind of have an open and honest kind of discussion on this and say that, look, in our day and age, what is the solution? Because if we're going to be honest, somebody asked a question that, look, a girlfriend and boyfriend situation, is that not equivalent to a nikah? That when a girlfriend and a boyfriend go exclusive with each other, everybody knows that they're a couple. They attend events as a couple. They do all these things as a couple. Would that not fall under a nikah in a sense, as in people recognizing their exclusivity? And I said, look, I think that is a very interesting and good question. I wish that the ulama today would kind of acknowledge and embrace these things and start to kind of like bring them onto the table. But the problem is they won't. Can someone volunteer to be a concubine? Why not? What was that famous line that guy said about the... Oh, damn, I forgot now. The famous one about... I forgot. But anyway, so you see, the base desires have always been there, but there's been huge... One thing in the past is that the outlets were never an issue. So in the past, marriage was not an issue. It was very simply done. Divorce was not an issue. If you're having an issue, you just went your own ways. Marrying Divorce was not stigmatized. Polygamy was the norm. It was accepted that men had sexual kind of other partners. Men were allowed to have many, for example, other sexual partners, as an example I'm giving. Now, these like concubines and things like this, in the past I'm speaking about. Now, what I'm trying to say is that this is why they never stressed in the past on this topic. What we have today is society has flipped things on its head. So society's become hypersexualized, and Muslims just have this option of nikah, which is highly dramatized with culture and then made into a very expensive event and then locked into. So it's become problematic. So anyway, I mean, that's... I want to go on to a different topic, which there's a program which I didn't really watch completely yet, and I've got to watch, about Muslim women in the UK. Have you seen the hotties out there? Kamaran Kola Ji. Natty. Right, so, I mean, what do you want us to say? Send pictures on here. Is that what you want us to say? Yeah, it's because of this kind of a sense of humor that I get myself in trouble. Am I embedding a command? Like by saying that, like, what do you want us to say? Like, send pictures. Ah, God. I need to... My humor can get me into troubles, I tell you. So, yeah, so I want to get back to this mut'ah. That's, I think, maybe if ulama were to discuss these things again and be prepared to have an open discussion on them. Right, so Saif Hamdani caught the stream for the first time. Ahlan wa sahlan, tasharrafna. The Hairman, love it. Right, Sacha Paris. Alright, so exactly, look, it's nothing whether you're married or not married. It doesn't really make a difference. The male brain is only preoccupied with one thing. Anybody who says anything else is a lying kafir. Alright, I take that back. Right, I take that back. That's my humor going out of control. No. Right, so the point is, I want to get to this discussion of... there was a program about Muslim women in the UK that were getting married, and they were saying that, look, they didn't know that basically the nikah and the civil marriage, these are two different things. Okay. Right, so Arisha Khan, wa alaikum assalam. Yep, any question, you can post your questions. I'll try to, inshallah, get to them. Click like, click share, get the live feed out there, people. Right, so you see, the issue is this, though. Look, you know, because people say, yeah, but Muslim women, I'm not so sure if civil registration, civil marriage is the solution. Because I'll tell you what I'm against, or what I dislike, and I dislike the fact that if there was no longer to be a relationship, that you cannot leave that relationship officially until the state endorses it. I'm against that kind of... I'm free-spirited, people. Yeah, if I want to be in a relationship or out of a relationship, why do I need permission from the state? Why do I need to go to court for a year to plead to be out of a relationship? Why? You know, it's a free world. If I want to be in a... That's like saying if I don't want to be friends with somebody, I need to go to court, and it's going to take a year or a year and a half to get an official document to say I can't be friends with you. So this is the problem with state kind of like civil registration marriages. I have a problem with that. As to the financial side of things, look, the problem here is as well And I'm gonna look, we already know this. This is why a lot of people do not do this as well. Because they will say that, look, like let's say a guy says, look, this is my house, my car, I've got this, I've earned it. Now, if we go get married and let's say next year you want to leave, you want half of my house. So people will say, look, I'm not happy with that. And to be fair, I can understand where they're coming from in that angle, whether it's a man or a woman. But at the same time, I can understand there is a flip side to this argument, that if you said to a woman that, look, let's say there's been 20 years of a relationship and you could not, I refused, or that you should go and work and develop for yourself, then now we end the relationship, what do you have? That's also a wrong. So I accept that. I accept both sides to the argument. But the problem is both of these are so, how do they fit? Because they're both kind of like, they're repelling. The magnetism is repelling people. So how do we, so I would say, look, before you are about to get married, right, you can have a very open conversation with the other person. If you are adamant that you want this registered, you can make it clear. Either the person will agree or they won't. That's one way. The other way, when are you going to compete rot missions? I don't even know what that is. Alright, so the other side is that if the other person is not prepared to register the marriage, the person says, look, I just want a relationship, we can live together, we can be one family, but I don't want to register because I'm against this kind of concept, then you can make it clear. I feel that you can make it very clear that, look, you will still continue to live your individual life as well. That you will work, like if you want to work, you will work. That you will keep your money to invest towards yourself as well. So if a woman wants to keep her money, or let's say keep a portion of her money that she will always invest to. So let's say some women, they could be married, but she could say, look, I want to buy a house separately on my name. I want to put that on rent. And I want to, that will be my separate income. Alhamdulillah, I think that is a brilliant idea. I encourage those kind of ideas. Because this will keep you as a woman independent. You are not dependent on the man. Yes, you are together, you're working together, you're both contributing, but should things fall out, you can go your way, he can go his way. You've got, you've got something, you've got a stable place, you've got a property, you've got an income, you've got things. So what I'm trying to say is, I think there can be an honest conversation at the beginning of a relationship to say, look, this is what I want. And then you can negotiate. What I do condemn is, I condemn that approach, that attitude that some people have, that if a woman wants to work, or if a woman wants this, that she's not allowed to have that, or she can't do this. That is backwards. It has nothing to do with Islam. It is cultural, and it's not even truly cultural of places like Pakistan, because even in Pakistan, which the majority of which is rural, the vast majority of all rural women go out and work. And they work in the fields, they do the crops, they do all these things. I've witnessed it with my own eyes. So to say that women can't go out or they shouldn't go out is backwards. That is an insecurity that lies with you. But I do accept the fact that some men they would be concerned that, look, this is something I've had, that if I go register something, how do I not know this isn't just for my, you're not just in this relationship 13 months from today, you could be in court saying you want half of my property and you want half of this, and then you just want to enjoy that really with somebody else. Now, these suspicions in these societies, they're not good suspicions to have, but I do understand that people have these suspicions. Okay, next question. Khalid, they are married to your chachas. I've got no idea. Are anabolic steroids permissible? Steroids are an issue of legality and not an issue of theology. They are not haram, but they are an issue of legality. In the West Bank, they work there as well. I was there for a while. It's great to hear, Cameron. I agree that, and this is just insecurities that certain people have, and I think that's Khalid, you're going to get blocked. Enough of the stead talk, right? You do not have to encourage that they were the origin in the masculinity and the custom control those rights that women want. Is cannabis alright? Behave. State and government love it because they get paid for divorces. Exactly. I'm against that kind of state control. I'm against totalitarianism, people. Orwellian states and me just do not go together. Next, I tell you what, let's take some rapid round questions, people. Right, let's take some rapid rounds. Prenups. Prenups in the UK don't work. That's the problem. They're not legally binding in the UK. Right, so let's take some of these questions. Let's have some rapid round. Stephen Gurty, how's you? Eyes good, man. ¿Cómo estás usted? ¿Cómo están usted? How are you? Right, so that's so true. Women should be independent, sounding a lot like Hizb ut-Tahrir today, Mufti. Wal-'iyadhu billah, that I should sound like Hizb ut-Tahrir. I've always been against totalitarianism. I feel that the government should always be a laissez-faire, I think they pronounce it, that a kind of hands-off approach to ruling people. Arsenics in Zamzam. I'm not aware of arsenics in Zamzam. My understanding is that Zamzam is a blessed water. It has an immense kind of amazing point of origin to it, a whole Islamic story and a pre-Islamic and Abrahamic story that goes with it. There has been some research in Saudi Arabia and other places that shows that it is very rich in minerals and things like this. I'm not aware of any kind of I'm not aware of any arsenic things to it, but I feel it's great, it's amazing, it's blessed. I think it's great to kind of drink Zamzam water. Sheikh is wishing a fellow Christian friend happy Christmas. Okay, absolutely you can, and there's no harm in saying to people Merry Christmas, folks, Merry Christmas, right? Because look, relax, our faith is not that insecure. You don't become a kafir by saying that. I've written a whole article on this. It's in my notes on Facebook called Tinsel in a Tangle or something like that. I wrote it last year. You can have a read of it. It's absolutely fine. Is that beer? Rhubarb? Is that beer? No. No, it isn't. But I like the way you think. Right, so I have I'm not a Muslim, but I have a lot of love for all religion. Right back at you, Sacha. What's the difference between nafs and ruh? Some people, Ahmad Ali, have drawn a distinction between those things. People, ulama like Ibn Hazm and others, kind of refer to these things as the same thing. The soul, the self. Some people feel these are different things. Ruh, in essence, simply refers to the life aspect, that having life. Like we can have a dead body, it's still a body with all the same organs, but there's no life in it. That life aspect, the living human body, they refer to it as a ruh. We don't truly understand what that means. In my understanding, that is probably what is linked, that consciousness, I mean, all these things, life, that is what it is referring to. It's very difficult to kind of put into words, I feel. Mufti Saab, how would you define a Muslim? Anybody who testifies the testimony of faith. Do you get interviews from news media? I don't really. I don't know. I mean, I've not really. I mean, I get some. I've had some in the past, but I don't get that many. I suppose I don't really put myself out there as well to the media. but then maybe when the media are usually looking for imams, I don't think I'm the kind of person that they would be looking for. You see, like, so I remember a while back there was this report being done in the UK that was commissioned on women struggling to get things like divorces and stuff like this from an Islamic perspective, and they were speaking to imams and muftis and shuyukh, and I remember getting being put in touch with this board, and I spoke to them, and I actually said, look, it's not a problem at all according to Islam. According to Islam, if either of the couple no longer feel that they want to be in that relationship, Islam gives them the right to not be in that relationship. This is what Islam teaches. That it doesn't need to be abuse. It could just be, look, I don't want to be in this relationship. If they feel, most people do not just wake up one day and say, look, this relationship's over. But usually there's been a wear and tear. But if a couple, either of the couple, man or a woman, no longer feel that they want to be in a relationship, they can't be forced to be in a relationship. Now, I said that, and I said to this board, look, this is what I said, that this is clearly what Islam teaches. And they were interviewing these imams, and then they said, okay, well, we'll interview you as well. But then they just totally omitted me, and they didn't get back in touch with me. And they only wanted those imams that were saying that it was very difficult, that a woman can get a divorce, or she can, but as long as there's abuse and things like that. But they weren't saying that she could normally, just generally get a divorce. So when I provided them this, and I said that no, Islam actually says this, it appeared that, although they said to me, yeah, well, definitely, oh, well, that's interesting, nobody said that, and we'll need, but then they just omitted my thing altogether. So it's interesting that sometimes the media just wants its perspective only. Guys, my brother, you should check your fact for real, Mufti. I've got no idea what that means. Right, okay, guys, some rapid round questions. We've got to wrap it up. Where's your earring? I used to have one many years ago in my teen years, and then I wish I still had one, to be honest with you. I don't believe it's haram for men to wear earrings. Why would it be haram? Although the custom generally in the medieval ages was that men did not generally wear earrings, but boys did. And to the extent that it's even transmitted, that even in the hadith, that when a child is born, when the boy is born on the 7th day, in some of the riwayat it says, وَيُحَلَّقْ, and he's given an earring to wear. And this is why a lot of the boys wore earrings. And even when Imam Malik is asked that if a boy is wearing an earring out of gold, is that right or wrong? And he says that they shouldn't wear gold, but he doesn't condemn them for wearing the earring. And to the extent that some of the people transmit that Imam Malik's son used to have an earring. So, but I guess it's not the general culture. I recognize that, but it's not haram. Right, Arisha Khan, I've answered that at the beginning of, which was part 1 of today's kind of Q&A. It's supposed to be 1, but it was interrupted because my internet connection kind of messed up. Muhammad Admani, I've answered about tattoos previously, that most of the scholars felt it was haram. Some ulama felt that it was discouraged. Amongst them, I believe it was people like Ibn Zayyat and Qarrafi from the Maliki madhab, who argued that how could it be haram, but perhaps discouraged. And that's probably the way I incline, that I don't feel that they're haram, as long as they're not entirely disfiguring. So I would feel that the way you get some of these gangs that kind of disfigure their faces with tattoos, I would feel that is haram. But small kind of tattoos here or there that are seen as enhancement, not as a kind of disfiguring, or seen as just to kind of beautify, or women get sometimes small tattoos, I don't believe that to be haram, as Imam Qarrafi argued. I believe that to be perhaps at most discouraged. So, alright, Rapid round, people. I have tattoos. Awesome. Right, so each to their own. Humans are just motivated by, it's our own, we're all incredibly self-motivated. I read a poem today. This is all courtesy to our own Ibn Asim Ji, who should be in the house with us today. And Asim, if you are still awake, gym session after this, inshallah, and steam session. But a poem where it said, it said that koi jannat ka talib hai. It said koi jannat ka talib hai, to koi gham se pareshan hai. That some are just simply seeking a paradise, whilst others are seeking relief from a depression. Gharz sajde karwati hai, ibadat kaun karta hai. He said that it is our motives and objectives that make us do sajda. Who is it that is actually worshipping? We're all simply motivated by our own means. Huh? That's all it is. That's all it is. Huh? Ibadat kaun karta hai? That's the thing. It's all humans. Everything we understand is just through our interaction in the world, our understanding of God even. We look at mercy, then we understand mercy. We look at compassion, then we understand compassion. Or in the words of Mir, that Khuda ke to hum kabhi qail hi na the. That we never used to believe in God anyway. Unko dekha to Khuda yaad aaya. See, it's after seeing her that we came to realize there must be a God. But this is the kind of the understanding that we, through our environment and creation, come to learn about God. People, right, what is he drinking? God knows. Huh? That must remain a secret, people. That must remain a secret. What is it that I'm drinking? You know, on that note, I'll tell you what, I'll share a story about Ghalib, the legendary Urdu poet, who says in one of his poems, that he says, Ye masail tasawwuf, ye tera bayan Ghalib. That the way that these intricate issues of the faith and the way you explain them, Ghalib, tujhe hum wali samajhte jo nabada khar hota. That we would consider you to be a wali if it wasn't for the fact that you're that you're an alcoholic. So but what I want to share with you is a story of Ghalib. He was a Don poet, I tell you. Ghalib was a Don. That in his own words, he says, Hai sukhanvar aur bhi dunya mein bahut, no, hai dunya mein aur bhi sukhanvar Ghalib. No, damn, that slipped my mind. Ya salam. But he says that there's many poets in the world. But that one slipped my mind. But he says, Par kehte hain Ghalib ka hai andaze bayan aur. But the way that Ghalib expresses himself, second to none. But there's a story anyway where he says that, you see, all his pension that he would get, his kind of income, that he had, they called it a wazifa, that everything he got, he this one time he went and he would just buy alcohol with it. Sharab, he would just buy sharab. So this one time he brings that home and his wife says to him, what the hell have you done? Says, you brought all the monthly income, you brought alcohol with it. You spent it all on alcohol. And he says to her that, he says to her, Kya Khuda ka vada bhul gayi ho? Have you forgotten what God has promised us? He says that in the Quran, Allah has promised that He will give you rizq. He didn't say about the sharab about the alcohol. तो शराब हम खुद ले आए, रिस्क अल्लाह दे देंगे. He said that the sharab, the alcohol, we brought ourselves, but the risk, the food, the Lord will provide as He promised. This is not, by the way, alcohol. That's I know I was about to say it's Pepsi, but you're going to say, but it don't look like Pepsi. But I've mixed it with some 7-Up, that's why. So, right, people, with that, I'm going to leave you to it, right? If you haven't liked my page, like my page. If you haven't like both my pages, the public and the private, both of them, Mufti Abu Layth, you can send me any messages. I do try to respond. If you're on Snapchat, add me Malm2014, MALM 2014. Snap me, send me any questions, inshallah, and don't catfish me. I get people sometimes trying to catfish me. So they don't know. You can't blag a blagger. So I'll catfish them back. They want to see me wind them up, right? You got no idea where my sense of humor goes, right? So, right, but you can send me your questions and I'll try to get back to you, inshallah. Other than that, people, as always, you've been awesome. Right, much love and respect for your support, encouragement, and the respect and love that you guys share. So inshallah, stay blessed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep you forever laughing, forever smiling. Take very good care of yourselves, inshallah. And I'll see you all, inshallah, next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.